All right, are you ready for this mailbag?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, we had, what was the last mail? We had the billionaire mailbag.
Billionaire. These might be from the same person.
Oh, is it really?
It's definitely a repeat emailer. But that's
Mike,
not a bad
it was Mike
thing.
last time. I mean,
Yes.
like Mike brought the billionaire segment.
Correct.
And
It's
it was
him again.
Okay,
So look, if you write us good quality stuff, doesn't matter if you're the same guy. We'll read it out again.
Anyway, mailbag segment. I'll let you take it away. And this is on the back of us, off the top of our head, talking about the self-inflicted injuries.
Yeah, we were talking about guys that had injured themselves in various comedy ways. And this Mike says, you knew this was coming. In your Week 5 preview show, you guys went down an entertaining rabbit hole discussing the most ridiculous self-inflicted injuries in sports history. You mentioned Gus Frerotte giving himself concussion and joked about saving it for a Wednesday show. Whose self-inflicted injuries are the worst? Well, challenge accepted. I've compiled a list of some of the most infamous self-inflicted injuries across the NFL and other sports. There are too many to read, so I'd like to know which mishaps are your favorites. Let's dive into the misfortunes. As he says, way too many. So I've condensed it into a top 10 across all sports for brevity. He says the ones we mentioned that we can obviously skip over. Gus Frerotte, who nutted the wall of the stadium and injured himself, concussed.
Who what?
Nutted. Headbutted. Glasgow handshake.
Carry on.
Bill Gramatica, kicker, tore his ACL while celebrating. Stephen Tulloch tore his ACL celebrating. Jason Pierre-Paul, who obviously blew half his hand off with a firework. And Plaxico Burress, who shot himself in the leg at a nightclub.
Torn between the two giants there, JPP and Plaxico Burress.
Right. Ones we did not mention. And so these are, as I said, edited into a top 10, and they're kind of my favorites from the list. Jason Peters, who in 2012, after rupturing his Achilles tendon during off-season workouts, Peters re-injured it when his rollabout scooter malfunctioned. The device basically couldn't handle his weight, causing him to fall and re-tear his Achilles. He's now back in the league. He's the only player in the NFL older than we are.
Man, so relatable. As someone who's overweight relative to what devices can handle. Yeah. I can relate to that. He's also the same age as us.
Right. That's one of those ones that, like, a huge part of you is like, that's a terrible thing to happen. But the other part of you acknowledges the funniness of that. Chris Hansen, punter of the Jacksonville Jaguars. In 2003, Hansen swung an axe in the locker room, which was one of those motivational props. Keep chopping wood, and accidentally struck his own leg, resulting in a deep gash. How did Mark Brunell let this happen?
Let me start with Mark Brunell had been benched by this time.
Right.
He started 3 games in 2003.
So you bench
They
him
had
and
moved
the
on
standards
to the Byron Leftwich era, and this is the first year of Jack Del Rio as head coach. I remember this distinctly.
Right.
Keep chopping wood, but don't chop your leg.
Brandon Marshall, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. In 2008, Marshall slipped on a McDonald's bag and crashed through a television set, severing an artery, vein, and nerve in his forearm. That is a brutal outcome from a very, very doable injury. Another food-related mishap, Nate Burleson, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions back in the day. Injury in 2013, Burleson broke his arm in a car accident when he tried to save a pizza from sliding off a passenger seat.
I mean, nobody wants the pizza to fall and the cheese is all over the place. Like, that's just human instincts to save the pizza.
I would imagine a lot of people have made that exact motion to do something very similar.
And probably didn't get into an accident and then
exactly,
hurt their arm.
It just hasn't resulted in a car accident off the back of it.
So don't be making fun of Nate.
Now, baseball players. I believe baseball players may win this overall in terms of quality of injury. Sammy Sosa, that's outfielder.
Yeah.
Chicago Cubs. In 2004, Sosa sneezed violently and sprained a ligament in his lower back, causing him to miss several games.
Now, that may have been related to the steroid use in Sammy Sosa.
Because that also,
where it might be easier to pull some of those muscles.
Well, that also just strikes me as an injury that happens when you're 40. You know? Like, if you did that today, wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
I could pull some muscle sneezing. Right. Absolutely. Could do that.
John Schmaltz, pitcher, Atlanta Braves.
Good job.
Thank you. Allegedly burned himself while ironing a shirt he was wearing at the time. Schmaltz later denied this story, but it's become part of baseball folklore.
Yeah, there's a lot of baseball folklore stories that I choose to believe. John Schmaltz ironing a shirt 100%. While still wearing it. Yeah. I want to believe that, yes.
Glenn Allen Hill, outfielder, Toronto Blue Jays, suffered cuts and bruises after crashing into a glass table during a nightmare about spiders.
This one came to mind, and I was like, make sure you remember that Glenn Allen Hill, was daydreaming about spiders and hurt himself, and you were like, "Oh, it's on the list."
Yep.
I randomly remember hearing the announcers talk about this from a 1990 baseball game that I recorded on VHS.
Nice.
So this one's been in my brain since I was 8.
Adam Eaton, pitcher, San Diego Padres. In 2001, Eaton stabbed himself in the stomach while trying to open a DVD package with a pocket knife.
We've all been close to that, at least, right?
I don't know that we have.
It's a tough one.
Milton Bradley, outfielder, San Diego Padres. In 2007, tore his ACL while being restrained by his manager during an argument with an umpire. Steve, have you ever gotten so mad at an ump that you injured yourself?
No, I have not. Huh. I had one absolute livid blow up at an umpire. It was while I was coaching 13-year-old baseball.
Wow. Coaching brings it out of you.
And it was from a guy was umpiring who I was like friendly with before the game. Like we were talking and we knew some people and everything. And he called a balk on one of my players. And I lost my mind. Lost it. Because it was for the kids. I was defending the kids.
Coaching or...
Never tore an ACL doing that, though.
Coaching or being a parent, it somehow makes it way more likely that you're going to lose your mind than actually playing the game. And also what I discovered playing various sports is the less physical contact allowed in the game, the more likely it is to result in physical violence during the game, right? I had a knack of winding people up playing tag rugby way beyond my capacity to annoy them playing actual contact football.
Too hard with the tag.
It's just because people get so riled up because you can't settle it with if you do it in football, you're going to get hit the next play and everybody works it out on the field, right? Like, oh, you annoyed the crap out of me. Well, let's figure it out the next play and there's violence, right? Tag rugby, you can't make contact, so you never get that out and it just builds up until somebody snaps. It's kind of funny.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
I am not a crazy parent or coach who
Sounds
screams at umpires or officials.
Except
I don't care. I don't care how good my kids are at sports. I don't care about the results of their youth games. I just wanted to clarify that. I don't care.
I don't think you can walk it back.
In this particular instance, over 10 years ago, I was upset because he didn't warn my kid, And I think he got the rule wrong, too. Right. He got the rule wrong. So I just kind of...
No, you can't.
I may have yelled for about 3 innings about him screwing this up.
You've already put yourself out
there. But I am not a crazy parent/coach.
No,
I am
too
not.
Late. Anyway, number 10 on the list. We got a rugby player that we have to get in there. In 2017, Scott Baldwin, for Welsh rugby player and the Ospreys. Baldwin missed a match after being bitten on the hand by a lion at a wildlife park. He tried to pet the lion through the bars. Turns out lions aren't big on head pets. And thankfully, we have a clip of this, which if you're watching, it's great. If you're not watching and you're just listening, it's also great. So stay tuned.
Bye bye. All right. Quinton, I'll just take him quickly for first aid. Go. Oof. You're all right.
Why was he petting the lion?
I mean, mistakes were made. I do like that they
look so friendly, though.
Yeah, I do like that the guy was just sort of casually, hey, can we just take him to the first aid, please? Turns out the lion bit him on the hand. So he was like, it's a tour, the lion, or the tour to South Africa, where obviously, you have those types of things around. So you had a game in a few days. Like, don't go petting lions. That's the kind of thing that can happen.
I mean,
feels like a mistake you could have avoided.
The timing of my next game would not be the final straw for me deciding whether or not to pet the lion.
I mean, it would be a consideration for me. I've got a game in a couple of days. I probably shouldn't. Those things of like, should I skydive today? It's like, well, I got a big game coming up. Maybe not. Maybe I'll wait for the off season. Then it doesn't matter. It would be a thing. I would be thinking,
if you die skydiving, you would do it in the off season rather than
during.
You don't
do stupid things right before a game.
I agree. I mean, I don't even want to pet, animals that you're allowed to pet. Never mind a lion.
Anyway, so he resolves this or ends this email with a question. So Steve, he was talking about how, ironically, with the two of us, where you're 9 foot tall and 3 bills, pushing 3 bills, chair threatening size, I'm not. Of the two of us, I'm the one with the former football career. albeit very, very amateur. So he says, Steve, given your size and your interest in football, why did you never play? Was the allure of the pitcher's mound just too strong, or is there a self-inflicted injury story that we've been missing out on all this time?
There's no self-inflicted injury story. I did break my thumb catching a football when I was 10.
Okay.
But that did not keep me from playing further.
Right.
And I would like to clarify, I am a 2004 flag football champion.
That's
at UMass
flag
Lowell.
football. That doesn't count.
I'm just saying I'm a champion in a game involving a football. So just
Right.
throwing that out there. I never played because I know you see me as this big, overweight, nearly 300-pounder.
I've never said overweight.
That's what you see me as. My body type growing up, though, I mean, at one point I was probably 6'6", like 175. You know what I mean? I was probably 6'7", 200 my senior year.
Okay.
I had a very...
Just the 6'7" part, though, is quite useful.
Yeah, but just no physicality.
That's your problem.
Whatsoever. I was skinny, weak, benching probably 75 pounds as a freshman in high school. I mean, just bad. No strength whatsoever.
So here's your problem.
Baseball was always going to be my path, and I did not want to hinder the path
with other things
at all.
Oh, you were laser focused
with injuries. I mean, I played
okay.
basketball. I actually was ready to quit basketball after my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And my dad stopped talking to me. He was mad. Just stopped talking to me for like a month. Was like, dude, kid, you're playing basketball. Even my baseball coach was like, dude, play basketball. It's better for you. And I ended up playing. My dad started talking to me again. It was great. But I would not play football for fear of injury a little bit. Yeah. I mean, so it's easy here on the desk talking about guys, you got a knee injury, just play through it this weekend. Tough it up. It's easy to do that now.
Yeah.
I would never do that, though.
See, yeah, people. Okay, your issue effectively is, right, you may have got the size. You didn't necessarily have all of the size back then. You were stretched. You had the length, not the size.
Obnoxiously skinny.
Right. You also are terrible at using your size. You're not a physical. There are people that like contact, and there are people that don't like.
I don't have even just pitching aggression. Like, it needed to be dragged out of me.
You're a very non-aggressive.
Yes.
People use that gentle giant term all the time.
Yeah.
But you are very non-aggressive.
Gentle.
Not even that, but like to the opposite degree. Like when we were playing basketball at the Y, you were terrified of injuring the small people just by your size.
Oh, my elbow. I mean, I elbow people in the head all the time,
right.
And everything. Yeah,
but you were terrified of that. Yeah. So you were like,
dogging me.
You were like super going easy on people, including me. I'm like, dude, I don't care if I get clocked in the head by your elbow. Go for it. I'm like, it's fine. Like, it's same thing even with the pitching video and the baseball that I sent to Janko earlier for giggles. You were terrified of hitting me with the pitch. I'm like, okay, if you still had the 95-mile-an-hour fastball, I would still be okay with it. Having seen your 75-mile-an-hour pitch, I will happily stand in front of it. Don't worry about it. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.